Thank you to everybody that's joined us today for this all-staff meeting. We hope that you're able to hear well. If you have any issues with your audio, please go up to the Communicate menu. You can make some adjustments there or even shift the way that you're hearing the audio. We do ask that if you're using a phone connection or even a computer connection, that you keep your microphone muted, because there will be some times when we open up the lines to everyone, and it's really difficult sometimes if there's a lot of background noise for us to do that. So, yes, if you could keep things muted, and then we'll let you know when things are unmuted. We appreciate that. One of the things that we like to do is to welcome new staff members that may not have participated in a previous all-staff meeting, or that we have not met at another event like the National Training Workshop. So what we'll try to do now is what I just mentioned, is to unmute microphones. And if you're not going to be talking, you might want to remute those individually to cut down on the background noise. But if you are new, if you've not participated before and you'd like to introduce yourself, we just welcome you to say who you are and where you're coming from and what your position is with AgrAbility. So we'll go ahead and try to see how we're doing with our background noise here. It sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty quiet. So if you would like to go ahead and unmute, or if you'd like to introduce yourselves, please feel free.
To the University of Illinois. I am serving as a co-director right now with Bob A. Heron, and looking forward to learning a lot more about the organization.
And I did have everybody muted there just a little bit, so could you just repeat your name for everybody?
Yeah, it's Josie Rudolphi at the University of Illinois.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Anybody else out there?
Yeah, this is Art Nash with the University of Alaska Fairbanks, Cooperative Extension.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Connie Baggett, Penn State University.
Hi, Connie.
Good.
Connie, you're not new. You're old.
I'm soon to be deleted.
Okay, anybody else before we mute all the microphones again? All right, well, thanks for those that were able to introduce themselves. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Aida Balsano from USDA, and she's going to give us an update on all things happening with NIFA. And I think you're still muted, Aida.
Thanks, Paul. I got it now. Thanks, everyone. Hi, good afternoon, and happy autumn to all of you. I hope you're doing well where you are. Here in D.C., you wouldn't know it's autumn, our first day of autumn. We have a temperature around 90 degrees. It's going to be between 80 and 90 degrees this whole week. We don't mind it, but I think, some of us are concerned about what does this mean for, for the rest of the year. How long is the weather going to be like? A little bit off like this, but again, it's sunny, it's nice, we don't mind it. This is Aida Balsano. I'm a national program leader here with the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and I'm joined today by one of our program specialists. It's Miss Leland Dixon. I think we have her on the line as well. Leland, for those of you who might have not met her yet, it's just wonderful, provides wonderful support has been providing a wonderful support for this program for a number of years now. She also works on a number of other NIFA competitive programs. And we have been just very fortunate to have her on AgrAbility. I have extended an invitation to today's call also to Brad Rain. He's the one who has led AgrAbility program before I joined as the lead a few years ago. We have a bit of an echo. Let's try this again. So I have extended invitation to Brett as well as to Steve Thompson, who's secondary lead on AgrAbility. It seems that their schedules could not allow them to join us, but yeah, bring you greetings from two of them as well. As always, I appreciate NAP team making space for NIFA for us to share a little bit about what's happening at this end. I have very few updates today. Please, as I go through, I have some notes here. As I go through it, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box or just let me know later during the call or after this meeting. I'll be more than happy to engage with you. As we're nearing the end of the current fiscal year, 2019, I'm glad to say that the AgrAbility program did well in 2019. We were able to secure continuation of funding for 17 state AgrAbility projects, as well as the National AgrAbility Project. And we were able to provide funding for 3 new state projects. 3 projects is all we had money left for in terms of the new projects we could bring on board. Of those 3, 2 we are very familiar with. North Carolina AgrAbility Project was successful, and then as well Virginia Tech AgrAbility Project has rejoined us for another 4 years of funding. With us also this year, the first year, is Washington State AgrAbility Project. So congratulations to all of you, both the newcomers, so to say, and those of you who successfully secured continued funding for your projects. Next fiscal year, 2020, will start in just a few days. It starts on October 1st. Though we're still waiting for the final federal budget to be approved. It could happen that it's approved for the next 2 years, which should make some things easier, but we're still waiting to see on that. For us at NIFA, we do not expect any changes in funding levels. Last Thursday, the House voted for what they call stopgap spending measure, just to keep agencies afloat through November 21st. It's one way for the government to avoid potential government shutdowns, but the measure would largely just keep agencies funded at their current levels. I think 2-3 agencies are going to get just a little bit of a bump, but nothing really significant. Again, we're waiting for, as in previous years, we're waiting for that final approved budget to really be decided on and shared. As pertains to AgrAbility, so since we don't expect any changes in funding levels for 2020, what we're looking at now is how the funds will need to be allocated. So we have no state projects that will be recompeting. This happens once every 4 years, where all state projects are either in their first, second, or third year of funding. So there's no space to bring unless the funding goes up, and we don't expect to see that. So there's no space to bring new state projects on board. The only project that's going to be recompeting is the National AgrAbility Project. And again, for the national one, this happens every 4 years. While I said that we do not expect changes in funding levels, what is likely to change is how NIFA might go about recompeting and funding NAP and state projects in 2020, given that NIFA is going through a relocation process, and I'll talk about it in just a minute. We're looking for ways to reduce personnel and time and administrative costs so that we can make sure that we have the most expedited allocation of funds, both to NAP and to SRAPs. So moving forward in 2020, we'll see how that rolls out. But again, some changes just for 1 year, perhaps or two, might be made to ensure that because we're going through changes with staff, that there are no delays in funding that it goes out to you. So that's as far as AgrAbility is going. Again, as I said, at least I personally am very pleased with how 2019 went. By now, all of your projects should have your funds obligated for this fiscal year. If you have any questions, do let me know. I have seen some communication come through over the last couple of weeks as people are asking. Some sites have asked for no-cost extensions, or there are some changes with personnel, or some are closing their shops, and so I'm CC'd on a lot of that communication, and where I see the need to step in and help out, I do. But again, think of me as a resource for while I'm here. So as far as the relocation goes, I'll just briefly share with you what I think you need to know. It's more for your situational awareness as you're entering new fiscal year. For anyone who's on the call who might not know by now, last August, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue announced that 2 agencies within USDA will be relocating, 2 science agencies, and one of them is Economic Research Services, ERS, and then National Institute of Food and Agriculture. So for a few months we were waiting to find out what the new location will be, and now we know it's Kansas City, Kansas. And staff at both agencies have been given. So most of the staff is going to be moving. Very small number of staff on both sides is going to remain in this Washington, D.C. area. But since we have been told what the new location is, staff at both agencies have been given the opportunity to choose whether to relocate and move to Kansas City or to leave NIFA. So if you would like to know more about the relocation, I don't want to spend more time on how that all came up to be or where we currently are. There's a lot out there on the web and social media. Feel free to just browse the net and see what's written up. What I want to share, and that's of concern perhaps to you that you might want to know, is that we have a small contingency of folks from NIFA who are going, about 40 NIFA employees is the number that I currently have, are relocating to Kansas City. Several of them have already made the trip and they're already working in Kansas City. Very limited number of staff will stay behind in D.C. Those are folks that will provide short or longer term support for different programs until NIFA is able to make the full transition. We want to make sure that the NIFA mission is met. But majority of our staff has opted not to move and will be leaving NIFA if they haven't already. I'm one of those folks, so this call is a little bit bittersweet for me, I have to say. But I have decided to leave. My last day at NIFA will be this coming Friday, September 27th. So please, if you have any questions that pertain to your projects, if you have any questions for me, the best thing to do is to reach me. Email is the easiest way these days. Just try to reach me before the end of the day on Wednesday. After that, things are wrapping up really fast. And then Friday, even though I'm here, I will not have access to my computer or my phones since all of that starts being turned in. So you will not have a chance to reach me. But even if you need some time to think about what you need to ask me but don't have time right now, you can just shoot me an email and just say, how do I reach you if you need to after Friday. I will let Leland speak about her situation and what her decision is. All of our staff pretty much has up until the 27th to decide which way they're going to go. But since I will not be able to speak to all of you after Friday, I thought it's important that you know that there will be this change. To my knowledge at this point, Steve Thompson will be moving to Kansas City. but my understanding is that he will not have AgrAbility program as part of his portfolio. So I realize that all of this might be a little bit of anxiety provoking for all of you, because it raises these questions about what does this mean for your projects, what does it mean for future funding. I personally just want to assure you that over the past few months, and then especially this past summer, we have focused our energies quite a bit on preparing for the transition and making this process as smooth as possible for you, which is why I said at the beginning, by now all the funds should have been obligated. All of you should have access to your to your 2019 fiscal year 2019 funds. So that shouldn't be an issue. Please remember that just because NIFA is moving and our offices are moving and staff might change, opportunities that you have through USDA and NIFA for engagement, and especially the need for this program for AgrAbility is still very much there. While I do not know at this point who will take over the lead for AgrAbility beyond September, I can tell you that you will have some allies on this end. I mentioned earlier that small number of staff will remain here in D.C. NIFA's director and about a group of, I think, 10 or 12 people linked to his office are going to stay in this area. One of those folks is Josh Stull. If you remember, he gave a wonderful presentation on the Farm Bill to this audience. I think it was last year, sometime around this time. Josh is wonderful. He's very approachable, very knowledgeable, supporter of this program. So if you happen to be in D.C. or you have some legislative questions, do reach out to him. He's very responsive, and he will meet with you if he can. NIFA has also NIFA leadership has identified 6 what they're calling National Science Liaison positions that will be located here in the National Capital Region. Primary focus for these 6 positions is that they will be looking to create that connection between our stakeholders and DC folks here. Among those 6 people are some people that some of you or many of you know. Brad Rain will be one of the National Science Liaisons, so he will be based here. For those of you who don't know, Brad used to oversee the AgrAbility program. Then for a number of years he was director of Ag Systems Division here, so has very deep knowledge and understanding of the program. Also in one of the liaison positions is Dr. Caroline Krokel. She was my direct supervisor. She led our division of Family Consumer Sciences. Again, very knowledgeable about the program, gets it, supports it. So she will be based here for a while as well. Please keep in mind that what you do is important. Your work matters. What you do does matter. And it matters, I've seen so many different programs here at NIFA during my time as a national program leader. Your work matters in ways that few programs do. You touch people across generations. You make real measurable differences. We now see that through AgrAbility evaluation work as well. You make difference in people's lives. It's not a small matter. I know you will continue to be good stewards of AgrAbility awards and good managers of your respective projects. Please keep doing the awesome stuff that you do. My wish for all of you is, and for your clients as well, is that you are successful in what you do, that you prosper, and that it brings you joy and continues to bring you joy. I don't have any more updates. I would be remiss if I didn't, take just a minute to say thank you to all of you for what you have done for this program over the years. For those who might not know, my background is not farm safety. My background is not agriculture at all. I'm human development, social behavioral scientist. I've learned a lot, gained immense knowledge being linked to this particular program. Thank you for everything that you have done for the program, but also for me. I have gained, as I said, wealth of knowledge from your projects. I have learned from your guidance, and then your commitment to people on the ground, people who feed us. There's no really, I think, way to experience it unless one has some exposure to it, and I appreciate you welcoming me in when Brad introduced me as a new MPL. You welcomed me, and then you allowed me to learn. It's been a wonderful ride. If I can be of assistance, please do let me know. As I said, the best thing to do if you have questions is do contact me by the end of Wednesday so we can figure out a way to connect. If you want to stay in touch when I land in my new place, I will let you know. If you're in D.C., I expect to stay in D.C. in this area for a while. So do give me a buzz, and we can meet up for coffee or something if you think that would be helpful to you. But thanks for everything. Keep the flame going. And Paul, I don't know if Leland might have any words she wants to share with folks. So I don't know if you can open her line and allow her to speak.
Hi, this is Leland Dixon, and I just wanted to kind of echo what Aida said. It's been really great working with you all and serving you. My plans after the 27th are hopefully to continue with the USDA. I'm not sure as far as in what capacity, but hopefully our paths will cross again. But it's been really great working with everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Paul, back to you.
This is Bill, and I'm not one to be lost for words, but on behalf of everybody here on the line across the country, you've been a champion for us for all these years. We could never have asked for a better person with a better personality to be a part of this. We felt very much like you're part of our family. We do expect to find your address as soon as possible, if you could send that to us, so we can put you on our Christmas card list, and also to be able to send you updates. We're not going to let you off that easy, but we want to keep you informed. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your patience during times of struggles, and there have been a few, and also times that have been really, really exciting. And so we do want to let you know that if there's anything in your new job, wherever it might be, wherever it takes you, that you think we could be beneficial or contribute, that you will always feel free to connect with us. But if we could all do a standing ovation for you, but I'm afraid the system would collapse from all the feedback. But I do want to thank you so much for all you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Means a lot. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you want to take any questions now, or do you prefer that people just email you during the week?
However, it depends just how much time you have. I can do it either way. I have time. I can do it now. I can do it later as well.
We do have just a couple minutes. I will try opening the lines again and see if there's much background, but we won't be able to take probably everybody's comments and questions, so I may need to cut everybody off in a little bit.
Okay.
So that would be okay, and we could always spray it with alcohol.
Could we put a couple
Okay, well, I'm sorry, it sounds like we've got a lot of background noise, so we'll just rely on everyone to contact Aida individually, and I just echo Bill's comments. I can't imagine, whoever we get, they'll have massive shoes to fill. I can't imagine somebody being more caring and responsible and So again, I just join Bill in saying thank you and wishing you well with all your future endeavors, Ada.
Thanks, Paul. Couldn't have done it without all of you, so kudos to all of you, and thanks again. We'll cross paths. Thanks again.
Okay, well, I think everything beyond this point is probably a little less important than, maybe the announcements we just had, but still very important stuff. So do have some other updates for you. So I'm going to turn things over to Tess now to give us some updates on the regional workshops and also the national training workshop in 2020.
Thanks, Paul. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So as the dates are up on your screen, so Pennsylvania's regional workshop is October 8th and 9th, so that one's coming up pretty quickly. Registration is still open for that one until October 3rd, so if you're still thinking about it, you got a couple more days to try to register for that. The downside is that the Days in Penn State, which is where we are holding the conference, is booked up. There is another hotel, the Hampton Inn, is fairly close by, and they do have rooms. So you can still get a room, just not at the hotel we'll be at. We currently have 30 people registered to attend the sessions on Tuesday. 23 of those are going to stay and also go on the tours on Wednesday. We have a wide range of people attending. So we've got 12 AgrAbility staff across 3 different states. We've got 2 different Goodwills beyond ours that will be attending. We've got a representative from NICAM. There's 4 Pennsylvania VR people coming, University of New Hampshire, Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, a couple of OT students, and a professor. So we're going to have a really good group there. So if you've been, thinking about coming, think about it some more. We'd love to have you. We're going to tour an AgrAbility client. We're also going to tour a therapeutic riding center. And at lunch, we are going to have a presentation from a female veteran who has a tea business. So it's going to be a great time there in Pennsylvania. So feel free to join us there. If you're not able to join us there, maybe you can come to California in December. So we will be in Davis, California, on the UC Davis campus. Hotel rooms are at the Hyatt UC Davis, and you have until November 4th to get your hotel room. And you have until November 26th to register for that one. We're going to be talking about how you can how OTs and other rehab professionals can partner with AgrAbility. We're going to talk about working with migrant workers and collaborating with other partners such as Department of Rehabilitation or the Centers for Ag Health and Safety. We will be touring an agribusiness center and some AgrAbility businesses, a migrant center. We're going to tour a little bit of the research on campus there at UC Davis. So those will be 2 great regionals that you can join us for. Our 2020 NTW is going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, and that's March 23rd through the 26th. We will be at the Madison Concourse Hotel, and we have rooms there for $107 plus, tax there. The hotel is open for us to register, so I will be sending that out soon. Either you can call in with a code or you can just go online with the link. We have sent out the call for presentations and posters, so please think about doing a presentation there and sharing all of your expertise with the rest of us. We would like those in by October 15th, so that date is coming up soon. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me, or if you need the link or a form to fill out. We also sent out vendor applications, so if you know of any vendors that might be interested in attending the NTW, please forward that along. We just got confirmation today for our keynote speaker is going to be Davon Goodwin. He is a veteran from North Carolina who is also an AgrAbility client. A little bit about him. He holds a degree from the University of North Carolina at Pembroke in biology with a concentration in botany. He was in the Army and served in Iraq and Afghanistan, where he earned a Purple Heart after he was wounded. He has been working with Growing Change, which is a nonprofit organization transforming former North Carolina prisons into therapeutic farms and community centers where youth and veterans serve in leadership roles. He's also the manager of Sandhills Ag Innovation Center, which is a food hub that's working to reinvigorate the local sustainable farm economy and support the next generation of farmers. And he also owns and operates his own farm where he grows muscadine grapes and raises heritage livestock. So we're very excited to have him speaking. We're changing up our banquet and dinner night a little bit. We're going to try something new this year and have our banquet dinner and our live auction on Tuesday night. Hopefully everybody won't be as tired as they are closer to the end of the conference, and we're going to keep our silent auction. We're going to open that hopefully like Tuesday afternoon and keep that open till Wednesday afternoon. So we aren't going to do silent and live auction at the same time. So we'll send out more details on that, but that's just something a little bit new that we're going to try this year. So feel free to start getting those auction items in place. Amanda Harguth at the Wisconsin AgrAbility office has agreed to let us mail things to her ahead of time. So I will put that out to everybody. I'll let you know now, but I'll send it out too. It's 460 Henry Hall, room 201, and that's Madison, Wisconsin, 53706. So our tours that we're looking at doing, they're not set in stone yet, obviously, but we're looking at going to a few different Wisconsin AgrAbility clients on one of the tours. We're looking at possibly a half-day tour on campus with some of their ag research, and then do a half-day drop-off, and then in the afternoon go out and tour the Kuhn agricultural machinery plant, possibly a couple other stops depending on time. And then our third possibility is a whole tour devoted to dairy. So we're working on getting those finalized. And the team has been planning all sorts of, helping to plan all of this. So I thank them for their help. And hopefully registration will be open towards the end of November, beginning of December. But my big push right now is call for presentations. Again, if there's anything you think you want to present on to share your expertise with the rest of us, please get that presentation proposal in to me by October 15th. So that is all I have. I don't know if you want to open it for questions, Paul, or not, or they can email me.
I think we'll hold off. We're getting a lot of background noise, so if you do have questions for Tess or Jo Beth, please go ahead and email them. But thank you to everyone that's participating in the planning process for both the National Training Workshop and these regional workshops. Looks like really good events. A couple other notes. Within a week, you should be getting a link to the annual staff needs assessment. This is something that's sent out by Brian French, our evaluation specialist at the at Washington State University. And it helps us to get feedback from the state projects. It helps the national project to get feedback, and also ideas on future initiatives, like what types of webinars you'd like to see, what types of resources, things that we should be doing differently. So please, when you get that, take a few minutes to complete that survey, and then later in the year, we should have the results that are available for all the AgrAbility staff members to be able to review. Marketing and media community of interest. Some of you new people may not be familiar with that, but we do meet quarterly to discuss issues related to public awareness aspect of AgrAbility. if you would like to participate. The next call is October 16th at noon Eastern Time, and if you want to be added to that list, please just send me an email and let me know you'd like to be on that. One other event not specifically related to AgrAbility, but one which involves a lot of AgrAbility staff members is the Farmer Veteran Stakeholders Conference that's put on by the Farmer Veteran Coalition. This year is in Austin, Texas on November 17th through 20. And if you go to the farmvetco.org website, the Farmer Veteran Coalition website, you can get information and also register for that. Also, just a thank you to all the SRAP staff that provided some feedback in regard to what types of VR issues you're encountering. We are continuing to work with the Council of State Administrators of Vocational Rehabilitation and other entities to try to help AgrAbility clients get VR services. The WIOA Act has complicated things a little bit, so we are working with some of the state VR agencies. We had someone from Missouri VR on the last call, and hopefully someone from Nebraska VR on our next call to discuss those issues. So we are making progress, and again, thank you to everybody that's contributed to that. If you do have more input on that, please just let me know. One other note before we move on to our introduction to Alaska AgrAbility is hopefully everyone that's on this call, or maybe a couple of new people, were not on the list to get the e-note this month, but we'll try to make sure that you do get on that. We did switch formats, so it's now coming from a constant contact server. So some of you may not have gotten the initial email that contained the e-note as you normally would, but hopefully you all got a follow-up email. And so if you did not get the actual email, you might want to check your spam filters or folders, or possibly talk with your IT staff about making sure that can get through. However, we will continue to send those reminder announcements after that's sent, so that you're not going to miss the e-note either way. But we do think this is a more professional looking format, so we do want to continue to use that. All right, now I'm going to turn things over to DeShanna York from the Alaska AgrAbility Project. I'll switch to her slides and make her the presenter. And she's going to fill us in about some of the new stuff that's going on in Alaska. That's actually my home state, so I'm always excited to hear things about Alaska. So, DeShanna, if you want to unmute, and we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. Hopefully you can hear me, and if you can't, say something. Thanks so much for that bridge. I just wanted to also recognize that we have a few other team members on the call today, which I will be introducing as we move forward. My name is DeShanna York, and I kind of got a combo as far as my position within Cooperative Extension in Alaska, a little bit of an odd one in some ways. I'm the Urban Extension and AgrAbility Director, so I'm located in Anchorage, which is the urban center of Alaska, and we have several things things are in development related to urban extension types of engagements regionally in the West, and then also nationally that I represent Cooperative Extension in Alaska but then also have had the privilege to get engaged with AgrAbility currently as the director doing day-to-day operations with our principal investigator, Art Nash, who is on the call today, who I will introduce here shortly. Another little interesting fun fact on my way to work this morning on the radio, an announcement came up that mentioned, I thought was sort of apropos, that today is Ray Charles' birthday. Kind of interesting. He was born in September 23rd, 1930, and passed away in 2004. But he began to lose his sight at age of 5, and then became completely blind at age of 7. and had his right eye removed due to intense pain when he was 7. And I thought that was kind of interesting, as we're always reminded that there are many folks amongst us that have disabilities but have great talent and that need support. And I'm so happy to be involved with AgrAbility. So in addition, I wanted to mention part of our project has the subtext of the last frontier, and some might wonder what that means if you haven't heard that before, but Alaska was admitted as the 49th state to the Union, and it's known as the last frontier in some ways because of our distance from the lower 48 states. And so often you'll hear Alaskans say the lower 48, and what they mean by that, or if I reference that, that means the contiguous 48 down below, since we're far north. And we're also known for our rugged landscape and our climate changes. We're on the front line of many things you've seen in the news related to climate change. As it pertains to AgrAbility, we had a little bit of a slow start, but we are off and running. Some of you may have seen in the news that we had a 7.0 earthquake on November 30th this last year. We're still kind of picking up the pieces after that, as well as recently in the news, somewhat unfortunately, we've been making national news related to a recent state funding situation in the state that has made an impact on our land grant university and our university system here. So that's been a bit of a challenge as we've navigated through our system changes here. Seems to be the theme of this call is change and more change. We also have a new nonprofit partner, which we are very pleased to be announcing today. They've been with us a little while, but we're getting to introduce you to them today, and that's Assistive Technologies of Alaska. We also say ATLA for short. So who we have on the call today is myself, along with Art Nash, who's our principal investigator. He's also our energy specialist for the state here with Cooperative Extension. He provides outreach and education concerning radon to include presentations, workshops, data collection, and also technical assistance around that. And also has been a principal investigator on other projects statewide for our organization around healthy homes and emergency disaster grant projects. He's done a lot of public workshops and outreach around wood gasification, home energy efficiency, northern climate aging and place modification, along with remote off-grid energy options, greenhouse heating, and other community alternative energy developments. He works a lot with our tribal organizations, along with state, federal, and nonprofit agencies, and other, of course, university-affiliated experts. So we also have Misty Rail, who is the Executive Director of ATLA, again, Assistive Technology of Alaska. She is a statewide, which is a statewide service provider in Alaska, and they're based in Anchorage. Misty's was raised in Montana, grew up helping on her family's 4th-generation cattle ranch. After graduating from college in Nebraska, she moved to Alaska and began working in the special education and accessibility technology field in 2000. Since that time, she's developed and overseen the only state and federally funded comprehensive assistive technology project that provides complete wraparound services to Alaskans of all ages. She's spoken at many national and international conferences and brings a unique Alaskan perspective and related to overcoming barriers to providing accessibility-related services throughout the largest state in the Union, which I'm going to talk a little bit about here shortly. We also have Tori Phipps with us today, and she's an outreach specialist with ATLA. She's been working with ATLA since middle school, actually. She started as a volunteer, and after earning her BA in Management and Marketing at the University of Alaska Anchorage, she began promoting ATLA and educating Alaskans on the wonders of assistive technology, and she's a great asset to our team. One of the things that I wanted to mention, I often, in my travels or when I'm talking to folks about Alaska, I often get asked about the daylight and the night time, the sunrise and sunset in Alaska. It is something that does impact our operations, and it's interesting how I think we really get used to it, if you will. But for those who aren't aware of that, I put a little some little information on here for you. This is the sunrise and sunsets associated with what we would say is the longest day of the year and the shortest, with summer solstice and winter solstice. This, of course, these times and these numbers of hours of daylight and for the summer and winter are recorded hours for Anchorage, and Anchorage is in the south central portion of the state where I'm located, and I'm going to show you a map in just a moment. But as we move further north in our state, those get more extreme with the intensive amount of daylight, or in the winter, the intense amount of darkness. And so that does actually play a factor in agriculture in Alaska, and a lot of the things that we interface with here associated with climate change as well. So one of the things that impacts has to do with our compressed growing season and the intensity of that. What you see here, I thought I'd give some little statistics on our giant vegetables. So something that we're also known for in the state is giant vegetables. So recently there was the state fair in Palmer, Alaska, which again is part of the south central portion of the state. And the great pumpkin, or the giant pumpkin that was recorded this year, as you see there, is 2,051 pounds. Actually, not only was first place, but was a new Alaska state record. Quite an interesting fun fact, because in checking that out, that is, other than New Hampshire, this is like the next biggest pumpkin in history. In New Hampshire, it turns out in 2018 it was recorded that they had, which is kind of interesting, a pumpkin that weighed 2,528 pounds. So we're gaining on that, as you can tell. Also wanted to call out that we have quite a group of youth within the state who also, whether it's with FFA or 4-H, who take part in agriculture and are very engaged in that. As you see, the second place there for the giant pumpkin was actually a youth and a junior grower there. So we're also known for the giant cabbage, and you see the numbers there as well. Quite interesting. So here's some images for you of those two large vegetables, but I wanted to take a moment to, in addition to that, tell you a little bit more about Alaskan agriculture. We have 900, as of the census in 2017 states, I should say, we have approximately 990 farms on record for those who participated in the census. Average size of the farms are about 858 acres. By and large, agriculture in Alaska is more in that what would be considered smaller farm category. We do have large production agriculture in Alaska, but again, it's not the majority of what we see when it comes to crops and farming. 43% of our farms are within the 1 to 9 acre size, coming in about 428 of those. Currently, we have about 235 on record, military-owned and operated farms. 93% of our farms, 93 of our farms are actually family farms, and we have a huge increase in growing interest in the new and beginning farmer arena. In the last census, it was recorded that 787 of those, by definition, were new and beginning farms. So that's pretty exciting, and I think is great opportunity for AgrAbility within Alaska as we've continued to go out and do outreach and talk to folks about what's happening around the state. So also when we talk about the size and scale of our state, some of you may have seen images in the past of the size and sort of breadth and depth of Alaska as it is in space. As it says, we're over twice the size of Texas. There's often a rivalry and a fun-loving conversation between Alaska and Texas about the size of our states. But some of the interesting tidbits about this that I think play into our outreach, education, and how we approach things here is that we, as it says, we have, 663,268 square miles consists of our state. In addition to that, we have, and our coastline extends to 6,640 miles. So that really is a greater distance than all the other states in the union's coastline combined. So ultimately, we are a very large state. We do things a little bit different when it comes to outreach and engagement, be it through virtual means or otherwise, or we have to travel great distances to talk and meet with people, which we do on a regular basis and are very familiar with that. In addition, as you might have heard, one of the biggest mountains in the U.S. And North America is housed in our state, and that's Denali, also known as the Great One, at 20,310 feet high. So also just wanted to, based on this image here, you kind of get a sense of sort of how we would fit within the United States. Our next quick map for your reference here shows where our Cooperative Extension District offices are located. So just for scale, it doesn't do it a lot of justice, but because it looks close on this map, but in reference to the previous, you can tell that it's quite the distance to our different district offices, which really has played into the strategic approach that we're taking and will be taking further with getting information out for AgrAbility. We do have staffing and faculty in most of these locations, but to give you a sense of the distance from Anchorage, where I'm located here on the map, to our Juneau district office is about an hour-and-a-half plane ride, and that's on a jet. So that gives you an indication of what it takes to get to some of these places. And a lot of these places, most of them have domestic, larger flights, but sometimes it's taking a bush plane or something like that, which is considered a smaller plane or charter to get to these places. So what's up and what have we been doing? We've been heavily involved with doing outreach and engagements initially as we've brought on our new nonprofit partner. So we've been attending a lot of conferences and fairs. We've been talking with our colleagues within Cooperative Extension, along with other university departments, to make them aware of the project, to include veteran service departments within our university locations and other departments related to locations around the state, which I showed you earlier. We are ramping up our commercial fishing outreach. We haven't been able to hit a lot of those folks yet, so that's on the forefront, along with continued outreach and further with tribal organizations within the state. There is a 1994 Cooperative Extension Tribal Institution in Illisavet. It's called Illisavet College in the northernmost location, known as Barrow, recently called Ukiavik, also, that we are talking with and looking at doing some additional outreach there to let them know that we're available to assist them. As far as classes and workshops, we, as some of you may know, we came about AgrAbility through some different channels and connections that our Alaskan colleagues, namely Art Nash, had with Tim Prather in Tennessee, and so we're looking to still do some additional training and engagement and working with their Beginning Farmer Rancher Academy. And I just wanted to do a shout out here, take a moment to also thank Tim Prather, if he's on the call today, for all of his assistance and mentoring that he's provided to us in our project over since the inception of that and before. As he will be retiring here shortly, we will miss him as well. Hoping to do some outreach with the virtual NTW and have let folks know and are going to continue to promote the in-person natural training workshop as well. And just kind of moving on here with veterans, there is interest. We have a large veteran community here, by and large percentage of veterans that stay in our state once they separate. There is very big interest in doing or getting together a chapter, and so we're working on that. And I've been in conversation with the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and we will be attending the upcoming stakeholders conference to gather information and hope to move forward with all of that. And then, of course, we've also had engagements at a lot of the military installations, and we're fortunate enough to have Ron and Brenda Bridges from East Tennessee come up this summer. They were on an anniversary trip, and they came up and were able to help us with some outreach and presentations and discussions with veterans to talk about some best practices. And then lastly, for my portion, just wanted to mention that, as I said again, we have a new nonprofit partner, and I'd like to turn it over to Misty Rail to talk a little bit about Assistive Technologies of Alaska. But just to bridge in, wanted to let you know that they are the only private nonprofit statewide comprehensive resource center serving Alaskans of any age to make informed decisions about services and technology that best meet their needs. They've been in business for 25 years. They are a federal, state, and private foundation-funded agency, in addition to offering free-based services, which Misty will talk a little bit about. They have assistive technology specialists on staff, and their model is grounded in the value that assessment and acquisition of AT are performed in a holistic way to help and improve those and their quality of life. We are extremely pleased to be working with them, and I'd like to go ahead and turn that over to Misty to tell you a little bit more about her organization.
Thanks, Deshauna. Hopefully everybody can hear me well, and if not, please let me know, and I will see if I can fix that. So as Deshauna said, we are a statewide nonprofit, and we've been here in the state for 25 years. The best way that we can explain it to people, because we often get the question, how can we work with ATLA, or how does somebody get services through ATLA? They do have to live in Alaska, and unfortunately there are not a lot of grants that allow us to go work in Hawaii instead, so we do have to stay in Alaska. The only thing that they have to have is a need. Most of our programs do not require any kind of specific disability or impairment certification. And then the last thing is they have to be alive. And I know I say that kind of cheeky, but it is really, truly birth, or as I would say, twinkle through wrinkle. So it's all ages, any disability, and anywhere in the state of Alaska. And so as being a statewide private nonprofit, kind of our main mission is to provide people with information and so that they can make an informed decision that would best meet their individual needs. And so this is a list of areas that we do have equipment. We have a demonstration center here in Anchorage, and then we have demonstration and short-term loan equipment spread out throughout the state. And so if someone from Utah or from Southeast calls and they need to want to see what some of the equipment is like, or they need to borrow some, we can make sure and get that out to everyone. Then, as Deshauna was mentioning, our services kind of vary between what kind of funding is behind them. So we do have quite a few services that fall under no fees, obviously awareness and information and assistance, our outreach, device demonstrations, and then we provide equipment for people to borrow as a short-term loan for 2 to 4 weeks, following that try before you buy model, or possibly they have equipment that has needs to go in for repair. Then we try to keep a loan library. We usually keep around 400 to 500 items available for people. And then depending on the person and which of our programs they would qualify under, there are fees that vary for device rentals, for any of our evaluations or assessments, setups, trainings, and the professional development. So this kind of gives you an idea when we say wraparound services, what ATLA is able to provide throughout the state. Obviously, it usually starts with some type of an outreach or an awareness event. Then we have people come in for demonstration. Then we hope that we have equipment that they're able to loan, try out at home or at work in their community. And then we also do a lot of utilization of any of the assistive technology. And beyond that, that's when we start getting into more of the fee-for-service programs, where the person needs an individual assessment with a report, a specialized quote. Then we actually are one of the very few AT acts in the nation that go beyond that, and we do the procurement of the equipment. We go out, do the installation and the training, and during those fee-for-service programs, we do have a grant-funded full-time position that helps with the acquisition of the equipment. So if someone does come in and they don't have the funding, or they're not within, let's say, a voc rehab program, then our acquisition coordinator works to find funding, help them write the grant, and do the application for them. So we really work to provide full wraparound services. We average somewhere between 125 to 145 site visits or communities that we go to throughout the state each year, depending on funding and depending on the demand or what the services are that we are providing. It varies, and sometimes there are 50 trips to far north and only 5 to southeast. It fluctuates depending on the demand. But we do go to every part of the state. And so here's kind of, I'm not going to go over all of these, but this was a snapshot of what last year we did and during our annual report. We did lots of trainings and, of course, demonstrations. Our information and awareness is just simply people calling, emailing, a quick answer, possibly a referral, or possibly on to another service. What's not on here is we provided outreach to over 17,000 people in the last grant year. So we do get out there and visit with a lot of people. And then, as Deshauna mentioned, agriculture in Alaska, it does look a little bit different than Nebraska and Oklahoma and Texas and places all over. We do have quite a bit of what's called aquaculture, a lot of nurseries, greenhouses, and of course our vegetables. And there are quite a few actual cattle ranches, smaller than what you would normally see in the Midwest, but there are quite a few. And as we're going through this, getting the word out about AgrAbility, I think we're all learning more and more exactly how much agriculture really is here in Alaska. So here's just a brief snapshot of some of our AgrAbility events that we've already either went to or plan to go to. This partnership between UAF and ATLA to do AgrAbility in the state is working out really well, because as Deshauna and us are going through the process, we're finding out that we have a lot of events that either one or the other go to, or that we were both planning to go to. So I feel like this next year we're really going to saturate the state with a lot of information about AgrAbility, and it's so exciting. I get to bring back my Montana roots to what I'm doing up here. So with that, I will let you go, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks very much, Deshauna and Misty. We are a little bit over our time, but I will try one more time at the end here to open up the microphones. If you are able to mute yourself to cut down background noise, we'll try that. And if people have some final questions here at the end of our time, we'll go ahead and welcome those. Any final questions, comments? Okay. Well, again, thanks to everybody that participated today. Our next all-staff meeting will be scheduled for either the end of December, mid to late December, or early January, depending on how schedules fall with the holidays. If you have something that you would like to have shared, topic, presentation, a question you'd like us to address, please let me know. Again, be looking for the annual needs assessment to provide feedback to us, And with that, thank you again to all our presenters today, and thank you for participating. Have a good day.